vigilant and will continue to keep you informed. On an equally serious note, your district recently tested their safety and security procedures through the joint efforts of the City of Twinsburg Police, Fire, and CERT groups. While we hope this day never happens in Twinsburg, we know that we are best if we prepare. Thanks to the administration, staff, students, and many, many other volunteers who saw to the execution of this emotional and stressful test of our students and their readiness. On a much happier and upbeat note, congratulations to the entire district for achieving number 42 on the U.S. News and World Report ranking of high schools in the state of Ohio. This ranking is out of 741 Ohio high schools, earning Twinsburg the silver medal once again. This ranking is based on performance, state assessments, readiness for college and career. THS also ranked 1,049 out of 21,000 high schools nationally. While we know personally how great our students and staff perform, it's especially nice when the world recognizes us as well. On to a sadder note, we're just been informed that a longtime custodian for the city of Twinsburg, who we've gotten used to seeing at the end of our late nights, Mr. James Davis has passed, and we send our sincere condolences to his family. And now on to the business of our district, and without further delay, I will turn the meeting over to Mrs. Powers for your superintendent's report.
Good evening, Mr. Felber. Good evening, Board of Education, community. It's always so great to see so many of our Tigers at our Board of Education meetings, and we can hardly wait to hear about all the wonderful things that you've been up to at your schools. But before we get to our school presentations, we have a very special presentation this evening, and I'd like to introduce to everyone our Ohio House of Representatives, Christina Rogner, who is here today to give a very special award to one of our high school seniors. Good evening, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Is this on?
Yes.
President Felber, Superintendent Powers, members of the Board of Education here in Twinsburg, and to those family and friends gathered this evening. It is my distinct privilege and honor today to recognize a senior amongst you who is an artist. Every year, starting now, going forward, there's an art competition. It is sponsored by the Ohio House of Representatives, the Ohio Arts Council, and the Ohio Art Association. We pick one winner from each of the House districts. The House district that I represent includes not only Twinsburg, but it's Hudson, Macedonia, it's Northfield, Northfield Center, Monroe Falls, Silver Lake, all the way down to Cuyahoga Falls, and we picked one winner, and he is here this evening. It's Logan Pawlowski. I'd ask you to come and join me up here. And he is here, and this is, you can raise it up. This is the piece of art that he submitted. It's a photograph, and I'm going to have him talk to you about it in just a minute. But he's joined today by his mother, Laura, and your brother. What's your brother's name? Brennan. Brother Brennan, and his art teacher, Mrs. Kozak, is here too. So thank you very much for coming. And so I'd like to pass the microphone over to you for a minute. You can talk about your artwork. Tell us why, what makes you take pictures of these. This is a really cool abandoned building. You see stairs and you see some pieces broken out. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I'm sure there's a story. So I want to pass it over to Logan.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me to the Board of Education, and thank you for selecting me. It was an absolute honor, and I was very surprised to find out that I had won. So basically, this photo was taken at the Akron Rubber Bowl, and it's an abandoned college football stadium in Ellet, Ohio. And I had stumbled upon it one day while heading to a family event, and I said, I have to check it out. I had my camera, and so I wanted to make sure, first of all, that I was allowed to be in there. There were no trespassing signs, and the gate was wide open. So I said, might as well try it out. So I walked through, and I just couldn't believe this place and how it looked. It was abandoned. Their last game was played in 2007, almost 10 years ago, and it looks like this already. So this is actually in the press box, and it's a stairwell that it looks like they had taken out so no one could get up to the press box, which was literally falling apart. I wouldn't even go up there if I could have, because it looked like it was going to collapse just under the weight. And so since then, this was kind of the first abandoned place that I've gone, and since then I've visited a few other locations, and I just love capturing them, because in 50 years when these places are gone, I want someone to Google search it and find my images. So I was super happy and excited to be recognized for the work that I've done.
Thank you. And Logan also had mentioned, was also selected the Governor's Arts Council as one of the finalists in that as well. So, and if I may, I'd like to read, it's very short, but I'd like to read this in its entirety. It's sponsored again by the Ohio House of Representatives. It says, on behalf of the members of the Ohio House of Representatives of the 131st General Assembly of Ohio, we are pleased to extend special recognition to Logan Pawlowski on being named the House District 37 winner of the 2016 Ohio House of Representatives Student Art Exhibition. The inaugural Student Art Exhibition is sponsored by the Ohio House of Representatives, the Ohio Arts Council, and the Ohio Art Education Association, and your artwork has been chosen to be displayed in the lower level of the Ohio State House Connector as part of this year's event. Indeed, you've established high personal goals and have worked tirelessly to reach your potential, and you can be justifiably proud of your exceptional record of accomplishment. Your success, both in and out of the classroom, is an excellent reflection not only on you, but also your family, your teachers, and your school and your entire community. The initiative, devotion, and hard work that you have exhibited in every endeavor will greatly aid you in meeting the challenges of the future. Thus, it is with sincere pleasure that we commend you for outstanding achievement and salute you as a fine young Ohioan. Congratulations. You gotta see the picture in there. There we go. That's good.
Logan,
And thank you again for having us this
Thank you,
evening.
Representative. I went to Kent State. We never had anything that looked like that. Good job, Robert.
And if you want to see more photos, I do have them online, photography.com. It's really interesting to see just what in 10 years has happened. So, thank you.
Logan is really one of our bright stars at Twinsburg High School. He is actually one of our special guests on Twinsburg Schools Today, our April show. And on the show, he talks to me about his plans after high school and all of his successes while he was a student here. We're so proud of him. And Ms. Pawlowski, thank you for sharing Logan with us. Brendan, you have big shoes to follow your brother here. And we just know that you're up for the challenge. And I want to especially thank Cheryl Kozak, who is Logan's photography teacher, and it's all about the inspiration of our staff and what they share with our kids. Of course, the support of our parents can't be done without, but I do appreciate Ms. Kozak, you and all that you have done behind the scenes to push the talent here, and I'm just so excited. And I said this on my show, I expect, Ms. Pawlowski, when Logan wins his Academy Award, that we're all going to be sitting in the front row. That's right. We're delighted. We absolutely are delighted. So thank you for sharing your son with us. We do appreciate it. Speaking about Special Recognition Board of Education, this just seems to be the month for great recognition of some outstanding educators, and I just wanted to name a few others this evening. First of all, I know that the high school is probably going to recognize this particular teacher, but I'm going to steal their thunder, and that is Mr. Matt Socrates. Matt was recently the recipient of the Crystal Apple Award from the Northeast Ohio Media Group, or also the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and he was nominated by Twinsburg High School senior Olivia DiPiori and her parents, John and Vicki. And Matt, thank you for all of the work that you do with our kids every single day. It's certainly a pleasure to be your colleague. Also, Board of Education, this time of the year, the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation asks school districts across Northeast Ohio to nominate outstanding teachers for 3 specific awards. And I would like to share with you the names of the teachers who are now being put forward for consideration with the foundation. First of all, Miss Lauren Fanning from George T. Dodge Intermediate School has been nominated for the George B. Chapman Junior Teacher Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Education. So we're excited about that from Ms. Fanning. From R.B. Chamberlain Middle School, Mr. John Rebar has been nominated for the Arthur S. Holden Teacher Award for Excellence in Science Education. And then over at Twinsburg High School, Mrs. Sharon Masenko has been nominated for the Martha Holden Jennings Master Teacher Award. So at this point, the teachers have submitted their applications, and their applications have been endorsed by their building principals and by me. And we look forward to hearing in June how well the application process goes for these 3 outstanding teachers, and we're very proud that they're representing the Twinsburg schools in the Foundation's search for the very best teachers in Northeast Ohio. Echoing Mr. Felber's remarks, we were absolutely delighted yesterday. Actually, I didn't know the news about the U.S. News and World Report until Mr. Shunk from the Bulletin called me and said, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, oh, my goodness. We were so busy doing business here at work that we hadn't even seen the newspaper or the website. So congratulations to Twinsburg High School for this outstanding award, ranking 42nd out of 741 high schools and 1,049th out of 21,000 high schools nationally. And what I said to the staff yesterday in my email is, only the high school was recognized for this fabulous award, and we know they do outstanding work at Twinsburg High School. But it starts with the very young ones coming through our preschool and moving forward. And it's that whole effort, and it's so nice to get the award at the end of the road, but it's all the push that happens from Wilcox straight on up. So this is an award not only for the high school, and I'm very proud of the high school, but for the entire school district. And we want to thank the Board of Education for their support of all of our programs and initiatives and all the things that happen here, because when you mix it all together, you have a really great school district. And it's so nice to be recognized by the U.S. News and World Report for that honor. Board of Education, just a sad note. I know you recognized Mr. Davis's family, Mr. Felber, but we also lost a member of our staff this week. Our condolences go out to the family of Miss Beth Nevery. Miss Nevery was an instructional assistant at Samuel Bissell Elementary School. She was here employed since 1998 and passed away over the weekend after a long illness. So our condolences to Miss Nevery and her family. We know that her family lives here in town and that they are dealing with a very difficult time here, and she will definitely be missed. And once you lose a part of the family, it's very hard. This is the second staff member we lost this school year. So at the beginning of the year, Miss Gregorino passed away from Dodge, and now Miss Nevery at Bissell. So our condolences to the Nevery family and to our Bissell family as well. Beth has been here a long time, and she will be very much missed. And then finally, Board of Education, just a note about Saturday's event. Saturday is the Tiger Fit Fun Run. So get up early, put your tennis shoes on, and join us over at Tiger Stadium beginning at 10 o'clock a.m. There's going to be a lot of exciting things. I understand there is a tiger costume contest. So grab your whiskers and your ears and come on out and join us. The elementary school that has the most participation will receive a trophy, I'm understanding. So please come on out, kids, and bring your parents and have some fun with us 10 o'clock in the morning. And also we're asking for donations of canned fruit for the Emergency Assistance Center. They are great partners with us, and in fact, we've been having a canned fruit drive for the Emergency Assistance Center, and as of week 4 of the drive, we have collected 1,146 cans of canned fruit. That's a lot of fruit. And so thank you to all of our students and parents who have supported the Emergency Assistance Center through this important initiative. And again, we hope to see you Saturday morning, April 23rd, 10 o'clock at Tiger Stadium. And so that concludes my comments. I'd like to ask Ms. Villa to please come forward. We have some outstanding Tigers from Wilcox Primary School to celebrate this evening.
Mr. Asti and I would like to recognize some of our outstanding Wilcox students and staff for our Wilcox Rocks Award. So I will turn it over to him. Boys and girls, when you're called up, we're going to shake Mrs. Powers' hand, shake Mr. Felber's hand, and then I'm going to help you move on down so that we can take a really nice picture when everybody's up here.
Thank you, Ms. Villa. We'll start with our first graders, and what we'll do is I'll call up the first grader and their teacher as well. If they can come up and support the student up here, that'd be great. So first up, we have Mackenzie Coyne in Mrs. Littler's class. Mrs. Littler says that Mackenzie is a very sweet and determined little girl. She works very hard and is reading well above grade level. She participates in class discussions and follows directions in all activities. She's a good friend to both boys and girls, and she's a good role model in class. Now, Mackenzie says that Mrs. Littler is a great teacher who is nice and doesn't yell a lot, and never at Kenzie. Mrs. Littler is always nice and helpful, and she helps Kenzie find the right answers when she doesn't know them. Mrs. Littler is why Wilcox rocks. Our next student is Amari Muhammad in Mrs. Lennox's class. Mrs. Lennox says that Amari is a wonderful student to have in class because he is respectful and follows both class and school rules. He is an excellent role model for all of his fellow students. He exemplifies perfect first grade student. He is always prepared for class and ready to learn. He has impressed Mrs. Lennox on how much he has learned since the beginning of the year. And Amari says that Mrs. Lennox is a great teacher who teaches really cool stuff like 3D shapes. She always has her students draw and write stories, and whenever he doesn't know something, he raises his hand and she helps him out. Amari says, "Thank you for teaching me how to read and learn new words." Our next student is Zachary Schobert in Mrs. Browning's class. She says Zachary is the best role model anyone could ask for in first grade. He is always respectful and polite and gives his best every day. He is a very caring person and volunteers to help others in the class. He is the student who says, "I'll be his or her partner," when no one else chooses. Zachary is very special and Wilcox rocks because of him. He says that, He says that Mrs. Browning makes learning fun. Whenever her students are great listeners and do really good work, she gives them candy or lets them pick out of the treasure chest. She is always so helpful, especially working with Zach and his tally charts. Zach is sad to have to go to second grade, but will miss Mrs. Browning. Our next student is Kennedy Dewson in Miss Washington's class. Miss Washington was unable to be here this evening, but said that Kennedy is receiving this award because she is a hard worker. She's always willing to lend a helping hand to her peers and comes to school with a good attitude and always ready to learn. She displays all the character traits of being kind, responsible, caring, and safe. She says, "Kennedy, you rock." Our next student is Tyra Hester, who is unable to be here today, but we're going to have Mrs. Seidel come up anyway and accept the award. Because I have to read this for her, because Tyra is a sweet little girl. Mrs. Seidel says that Tyra is incredibly sweet. She's always happy and cooperative towards her classmates. She is a hard worker and consistently puts forth her best effort. She loves learning, and her enthusiasm about all her accomplishments this school year is so exciting to see. And she says that Mrs. Seidel rocks because she asks us to do fun activities like puzzles and math. Whenever she needs help, Mrs. Seidel always helps her come up with the right answer. Her favorite thing to do in all of Wilcox is learn reading and math. She says she loved kindergarten and thanks Mrs. Seidel for a great year. And our final student is Kaylee Osborne in Ms. DeCola's class. Ms. DeCola was also unable to be here this evening, but said that Kaylee works very hard in the classroom. She is always on task and eager to learn. She follows the rules well and always helps out. She is thoughtful and sweet. She is a great role model and always has the best smile. She said that Ms. DeCola rocks because she has 101 Dalmatians in her classroom, and on the 100 day, she took down 100 of the Dalmatians, and then they got to count and play with them all. Ms. DeCola is helpful and other students, to her and other students, and is also very pretty. Parents, if you want, students hold your awards up, teachers hold your awards up, and let mom and dad take a good picture of all of you guys. Thank you. Parents, I know we have a few more schools to recognize, so if you just want to sit tight for just a moment. I believe next is Dodge Intermediate School.
So good evening, everybody. On behalf of Dodge, we wanted to celebrate a few things that are coming up, but I would be remiss. I know that Logan is gone, but I really wanted to. Oh, there he is right up front. Thank you. So also say congratulations to you, Logan, because we just celebrated our Spring Fling, and it's all about the arts, and I hope that our kids at Dodge will aspire to that challenge. So congratulations again from all the Dodge kids, and if Dodge kids are listening, this is a great opportunity to see where you can aspire to. But our Spring Fling event was a tremendous success. We had a number of families come out, so again, thank you to our families for supporting us through that project, through that process. The kids' art was fantastic. If you had an opportunity to see it in all different mediums, whether it was clay or through paper or experiencing the living art of painting each other's faces and doing all those different kinds of things. So it was a really exciting time. As we move on to some of the other things that are coming on now, know that Dodge is busy preparing for this season. This is a busy time for Dodge. And we are looking forward to transitioning our sixth graders over to RBC. They are ready and willing and chomping at the bits to go to the next level. And we are busy preparing for our newest Dodge Tigers to come over from Bissell. So we're excited about the many different things that we have going on. We had a very successful Learn About Dodge night where I got to meet some new families and some existing families that have older children. And so if this opportunity to get to know and work with our incoming third grade families is a very important time for us. So some of the events that we have planned that are going to help transition our kids over and to each level is as follows.
Okay. Well, good afternoon and good evening, everyone. This is, I think, a year first, at least for me and our team here. First of everything was our first Spring Fling. I know Mr. Holland talked about that, but it was absolutely phenomenal, so I had to say something. But another first for us is, again, working on that transition for our third grade students. This is highly important to us because it's so important that our third grade students, as well as their families, feel like they're coming home to Dodge. We know that Mrs. Johnson took very, very, very good care of all of our students there, and we really want the transition to be easy. So we've planned a number of things. Number one, our team will be visiting Bissell to go see the students in their current location and working there and getting our faces seen so that we're not strangers when they come to us. But one of the things that I'm truly looking forward to is inviting our third grade students over to us on May 13th. And they're really in for a treat. Typically, you come over and you take a tour of the building and you see some teachers and you go back to class. But we really want this to be a celebration for our new students coming to us. So not only will they come over and they will take a tour and they will see people and they will see classes, but they will be meeting their fourth grade pen pals. Our fourth grade students are busy writing letters, invitations to our third grade students. So when they come to us, our third grade students come to us on the 13th, they're going to meet those pen pals. They're going to sit and have a craft with them. They're going to tour the building. They're going to meet some great teachers. And then there's a special surprise that I'm not going to say. But if you follow us on Twitter, I'll throw some hints out there. And they will also go home with a great gift from our great, fabulous PTA. So we're looking forward to that. Again, year first for Dodge. First part of the year, we had our very first father-daughter dance. And it was phenomenal. We really had a great time. Our PTA really came through to us, and our mothers and sons were like, okay, it's our turn. What do we get? So, again, in May, we're calling it Dodge Dudes, and Dodge Dudes will bring their moms. Now, we're not focusing on the dancing because boys may not like that, but we will have some great activities. The theme is Surfs Up. So you can imagine what types of things will be involved there. And we're really looking forward to the turnout and work with our families. And last but not least with that, and looking again for our Dodge First, our music programs are coming up. And I'm really impressed because this is the first time that I've had to see our students move from the beginning of the year to now. And listening to them play and seeing the growth that they made over the year is quite awesome. So hopefully you'll come out and join us.
Thank you, Mrs. Huggins. I would like to speak on behalf of the transition from 6th grade to 7th grade because I was fortunate enough to spend the last 8 years teaching over at RBC in the 8th grade level, and so I get to help with the transition from 6th to 7th grade and answer any questions that may be coming from students or families. And in the first week of May, we will
take our sixth graders and walk across the street up to RBC. We'll join a group of students and administrators and teachers in the auditorium to do a question-answer session where they'll highlight the academic aspects of RBC as well as all the extracurriculars that are offered up at RBC, which are a myriad of things from sports to our music program and so on and so forth. So we're really excited to head up there. The other things that we have coming down the pike that we really want to highlight are our various field trips for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students. Our 4th grade students will be heading to the Museum of Natural History in Cleveland, and that's a day trip. And then our 5th graders get to do an overnight trip in Greenfield. And I already hear Mrs. Huggins because she took the Greenfield trip in a hotel room, and I'm going camping with the 6th graders. So we're headed to Camp Fitch near the middle of May. So Camp Fitch is in PA. So we'll be camping, and I get to experience that as a first rodeo, so that'll be exciting. I also want to highlight our Pause on Child Hunger program that we were able to bring to Dodge from Bissell this year. Phenomenal program. We did a wonderful job of transitioning those kiddos in our building and look to just grow that program even further next year. So that's our goal for next year. And I think that's highlighted I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Holland to talk to you about Breakfast of Champions, which is also a tradition at Dodge, and he'll highlight some of the aspects of that.
So in closing, I'm just going to ask our central office administrators, our board members, our families, and our community to help us celebrate our students as they come to the end of the year. And through our Breakfast of Champions is a program that we offer to celebrate our kids, but more importantly, it's the message that we send as a community that we have great, great students at Dodge, students that have, and I'm going to highlight leadership, they're good role models, they are academically strong, and they are great citizens for our community. And so the Breakfast of Champions is one way, but more importantly, let's come together as a community and celebrate all the wonderful things that our kids are doing. So if you see a kid from Dodge, reach out and tell them thank you because they help make us strong. On that note, we're going to pass that back over, and that's our report from Dodge.
Thank you, Dodge administrators. Lots of great things going on. First at Wilcox, now Dodge. Now I'd like to ask Mrs. Taringo and Mr. Silverthorne to come forward and share some highlights and some great students from our high school.
Thank you, Board of Education, Mrs. Powers, Mr. Welker, Mr. Aho. Appreciate having us here tonight. Families, we first of all would like to recognize our March Students of the Month. I believe we have 6 of them for the month of March. First of all, from Mrs. Reppel nominated. Mrs. Reppel says she would like to nominate Dana Concarley for Student of the Month. Dana is an outstanding student, has been an active participant in student council and also in the freshman lock-in. Dana is a freshman, has attended every student council meeting, has participated in every activity that we've sponsored. She's put a lot of extra time in and effort outside of meetings to help make especially the freshman lock-in a success. Mrs. Reppel goes on to say it surprised her that she came to the freshman lock-in meetings with lists of over 20 names of companies that she wanted to look to for prizes. Looked at the list. Mrs. Reppel gave her some suggestions on how to do that. She not only contacted all of them, but also persuaded them to give some nice donations to be used for raffles and such. Mrs. Reppel also says that Dana gets rides to area businesses and collected items, brought them to school. She continues to work hard, be a very positive influence in meetings among her peers. She is not a class officer, just a member of the freshman class that has stepped up and given exactly 100%. That's from Mrs. Reppel, so congratulations, Dana. Dana, I have to ask you who... Hold on, come here. I have to ask you who you brought tonight or I'll get in trouble.
I brought my parents, Mom, Dad. Hi.
Hi, Mom and Dad. Thanks for coming tonight. Thanks again, Dana. Our next student of the month, Mrs. Kurt, nominated Brandon Seymour. Mrs. Kurtz says Brandon's a model student. He's very respectful, very thoughtful to his teachers and peers. Brandon works hard and will do what he's asked. He will be very successful in all that he does in the future because he has a great attitude and great work ethic. Mrs. Kurtz says she's very pleased to have Brandon in class and wishes him nothing but the best and says he's very deserving of this honor. So congratulations, Brandon. Brandon, who'd you bring tonight?
My mom, sister, and then Dad's FaceTiming from Chicago.
Thank you. Congratulations. Next, Mr. Whitting nominated Alexandria Mock. Mr. Whitting says, not sure if she's been nominated yet, but or already won, but he would like to nominate her because she surely deserves this. Allie's a great student. As a sophomore in chemistry, she's consistently in the top 2 or 3 in the class in every test or quiz. Extremely polite, just always one of the few that he can always count on during class. She does extremely well looking at all of her grades and all of her classes and just thinks that individuals like her should be recognized, especially for this month. So congratulations, Allie. Next, Mr. Schaefer nominated Carter Yee. Mr. Schaefer? Mr. Schaefer says Carter Yee has been an amazing example of Tiger Strong. He has shown patience and acceptance to our developmentally disabled students, as well as showing leadership and an attitude that all students can learn from. So congratulations again, Carter. Carter, anybody with you tonight?
My mother and my father.
Thanks for bringing Carter tonight. Mr. Schaefer also would like to nominate sophomore Marissa Therian. Mr. Schaefer says Marissa has been quite unassuming example of being Tiger Strong. She is a high-achieving student in the classroom, a young leader on her athletic teams, shows great respect for authority and fellow students. So congratulations to Marissa. Last but not least, Mrs. Foskett would like to nominate Ramandeep Gill. Mrs. Foskett said he's been going through some issues lately, but continues to strive academically. Overall, a very intelligent, very nice person. So such a pleasure to have him in 2 years of chemistry. She cannot say and stress how hard he works. Also works hard after school, working for his dad, and just with all the time constraints that he has, maintaining his grades is just a true showing that he's just truly a Tiger Strong kid, and he does everything that you could ask of him, both academically and around the house, and just a great kid. So congratulations, Ranadeep. And who did you bring tonight?
My mom. She's sitting right there.
My mom. Thanks for bringing her. So those are our high school students of the month of March.
Thank you. I have one last but not least individual to introduce tonight. I'd like Mr. Socrates to come on up, and I know Mrs. Powers mentioned his name before, but we'd like to introduce Mr. Socrates, and I'll tell all of you why in a minute. Okay? Mr. Socrates and those of us that grew up with the newspaper, we every year I would look in this section called the Crystal Apple Award, and I would see the educators that would get this award. And it was truly the top educators in Cleveland. And I always wondered
how do you become a Crystal Apple Award winner, or how could someone on my staff get this? Well, you nominate them, and I had nominated people through the years, but nothing ever happened. Well, this year, Twinsburg High School has a Crystal Apple Award winner. And if any of you do see in the Plain Dealer, and also it's sponsored by a local university and also Advance Ohio. The reception's going to be on May 12th, but Mr. Socrates will get his Crystal Apple, and I'd like to read what the parent said. It was a parent that nominated him, what the parent said about Mr. Socrates. You have a friend indeed is what we think of when we think of Matt Socrates from Twinsburg High School. Matt is a teacher of students with special needs for grades 9 through 12. Mr. Socrates not only supports and teaches our children, but he promotes them in the school and the community. He effectively employs strategies to improve upon students' weaknesses by leveraging their strengths to teach the skills that are necessary to be successful in today's society. These include communication skills, eye contact, confidence, recognizing acceptable and unacceptable behavior. He reinforces these ideals that will make these students stand out from the typical stereotypes that they usually receive in high school and beyond. When referring to "you have a friend indeed," in relation to Mr. Socrates, we are referring to the support and guidance he gives not only students, but our family as well. He views his students as future citizens of our world and gives positive words of encouragement to build confidence in the necessary skills. It's also evident that he understands the need to teach and guide, but not enable, and rather by allowing natural consequences to serve as learning opportunities. He celebrates the students' success in these learning opportunities and gains their trust and becomes a friend that they can rely on. Mr. Socrates sets a great example that many can learn from when it not only comes to educating our students with special needs, but educating others that everyone has something positive to offer in our community and to the world. Our daughter has truly learned and grown while under Mr. Socrates' tutelage, while gaining great skills, confidence, and goals. That was written by Olivia DiPiore's mom, Mrs. Vicky DiPiore, nominated Mr. Socrates, and he is a Crystal Apple Award winner this year. So we'll hear more about that. Thank you, Mr. Socrates, for all you do for our special needs and our regular students, too, because everyone needs a solid teacher, and thank you so much. And I know your teaching peers were out there. And what an honor it is for our high school that we're showcased the way we will be in the Cleveland area. So thank you, Matt, for making that happen for our high school. Great. And that's it. These are our highlights. What a way to end, huh? Thank you.
Mr. Felber, we surely had a lot to celebrate this evening, and we thank you for your time, and that concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. And as we always say, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we know there's homework and other things that people want to get to, so if you do want to leave, now is a good time, but you're more than welcome to stay for the remainder of the evening. At this time, we're going to move on to committee reports. So I'm going to ask my colleagues to go ahead and do reports. I believe finance. So we'll have a report. Mr. Slura, member of the Finance Committee, along with myself, is going to give our Finance Committee report.
Finance Committee met last week to review some things, and I'm not going to step on the superintendent's toes because she's going to have a report to give tonight. But I just kind of want to reiterate and thank the staff and your staff for the hard work that was brought and done done before the meeting. A lot of data goes into the report that you're going to see tonight. A lot of thought goes into what we're proposing, and you know, I appreciate the hard work, you know, Superintendent and your staff that you brought to the finance meeting, and you know, it was a long meeting and a very you know, tough topics to talk about, but I you know, want to reiterate the fact that you know, everything that we're doing is for the betterment of the district, and I appreciate the effort, and I'll let you give your report later on that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Solera. Other committee reports that we policy?
Not policy. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Curriculum technology.
I look at you and I think we're still on policy.
Otherwise,
Curriculum
I'm
and
passing off to
technology.
you.
Not that I'm looking forward to the next mound of papers that we get.
It's coming.
Tina and I are, Mrs. Davis and myself are also on the policy committee, and my partner in crime there, but curriculum and technology, my apologies.
Yeah, no, that's okay. The Curriculum Technology Committee met on April 11th, and basically there were several textbooks that were up for adoption and I'm not going to name all the textbooks because they're in the agenda, but there was we're putting forth for 7th grade social studies and 8th grade social studies adoption and purchase for textbooks. The College Writing 1 and 2 course handbook, AP Science course, government course at the high school. There's U.S. History course textbook up for adoption, and Financial Algebra, Chinese 1, 2, and I believe it was 4. AP Physics course textbooks are up for adoption, so several books. And a new course that's going to be introduced, it's College Writing 1 and 2 for dual credit through Kent State University, and that is replacing English 12, and that's generally going to be for the seniors for college credit through Kent State. And really that's mostly what was going on with that meeting. And Mrs. Tringo talked about some student recognition survey results, and will that be on the website?
We're still surveying participants.
All right, okay. So eventually the results will be published, and you can check out any of this on the school website as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. For those that don't know, because I'm a former member of the Curriculum and Technology with Mrs. Davis, this is a group of not only teachers but parents and other staff that meet and do a lot of extensive review of the work that's being proposed tonight. So it goes to that committee. That committee then votes to bring it to the board so that we can discuss this in open session. But there's a lot of work that goes behind, and I don't say that just because Jen brings candy to the meeting. I miss that.
So I kept it brief, but there definitely is a ton of work, and sometimes I tend to be too wordy, so it's been a challenge to try to keep it brief. So.
Thank you. Is there any other committees that have reports? I don't know if any other committees have met. All right.
The Athletic Council's meeting Monday, April 25th at 10 a.m.
Okay, so athletic, I'm sorry, what's the date?
It'll be on Monday, the 25th at 10 a.m.
Okay. Any other committees? I don't believe so. Mrs. Parles, I will turn it back to you for the administrative reports.
Thank you, Mr. Felber. This evening we have two separate administrative reports. The first, I will be addressing the proposed fees, which are exhibits in this evening's board agenda, and then Mrs. Farthing is going to be presenting information about our proposal for 2 high school summer school courses, and we're pretty excited about the opportunities for some of the students at Twinsburg High School. Board of Education, this time of the year and in the month of April is usually the opportunity for us to propose to you the academic and pay to participate fees for the following school year. And a lot goes into making the recommendation to you. Back in 2012, the Board of Education, as Mr. Felber had indicated, determined that there would be pay to participate in academic fees to support the loss of TPP funds, and that was part of the operational change plan. And so this has become institutionalized now over the many years that have passed since then. And this evening, we're just going to give a broad overview because the actual proposed guidelines are exhibits in the board agenda. But I did want to remind everyone that our pay to participate fees and our academic fees are really studied over the year. And when we're proposing these kinds of expenses to our parents, we take this responsibility very seriously, understanding that many of our families are on fixed incomes or budgets that are stretched as they're managing families that are involved in so many things in our community. And so we recognize that. But this is an important revenue stream for the school district that provides for us opportunities to add to our instructional programs in our classrooms, and then also our activities after the school day. The first thing I'd like to present is our recommendation for the academic fees for next school year. Preschool will remain the same at $75 a student, and grades K through 3 will remain the same as this year at $80 a student. Where there's a difference is for grades 4 through 8. And the fee this current year is $80, and that will be increased by $10 to $90. And the increase is based on the fact that it's the cost of the consumable workbooks that are being used at those grade levels. And so that would be the recommended increase of $10 for grades 4 through 8. Grades 9 through 12 will remain the same at $50. Board of Education, I just want to remind our parents that if you happen to be a parent who is on or whose children are on free or reduced lunches and breakfast through the federal lunch program, there is statute that would allow some relief for you. The fee is waived for children who are receiving free lunches and breakfasts, and the fee is reduced by half for children who are receiving the reduced priced breakfast and lunches through the federal lunch program. But the thing is that our parents have to sign the waiver form and submit that to our food services supervisor, Mark Bindus. Otherwise, Mr. Bindus cannot inform the school district that the parent and the child is participating in the federal lunch program, and without that information, we can't offer those discounts. So it's really important, if you're a parent whose child is eligible for the federal lunch and breakfast program, please make sure that your waiver form is submitted to Mr. Bindus' office. And the truth be told, Board of Education, Mr. Bindus is the only individual in the school district who has that information. That's also by statute. So it has to go to him, and then he provides the names of the students who qualify and whose parent has submitted the waiver form to our building administrators, and then we're able to do the processing of the fees after that. So it's important that those things are filed. With regard to pay-to-participate fees, again, just to remind everyone, our pay-to-participate fees that are being recommended this evening will be at the same percentage as they have been since 2012, and that is 25% of the total cost of running our programs. If you look at the last bullet, the program costs include such things as transportation, personnel costs, our entry fees, equipment, the facility rental costs, things like that. And we are going to be seeing some adjustments in some of our programs this year, and reason being is Board of Education, as you know, one of the reasons being increased costs to transportation. If the teams are going more places, if the activities are going more places, that's part of the calculation. Personnel costs that are potentially increased due to changes in the teacher's negotiated contract where there were increases there, that would add to the increased costs. If our facility rentals have increased over the year, that is also part of the total cost of the program. And what we do as far as the calculation is we divide we use the number of participants as an average over 4 years. So we recognize that some years the teams or the activities have more kids than the following year. It's just some years there's more interest than others. And so the number that we use, and this is the same we've done for the past many years, is we divide the cost by the average of the last 4 years. So we try to be fair-minded. We try to do some trend analysis because things are not always as they are from year to year. Things move in flux and flow. And so we think if we use a 4-year average, that just helps provide a fair a cost to our families. Last year, Board of Education, just a reminder that the board determined that there would be a reduction to the cost of pay-to-participate fees depending on whether or not a child was eligible again for the federal free and reduced lunch and breakfast program. And what was determined last year is that pay-to-participate fees would be reduced by half for a student that is receiving free breakfast or lunches through the federal lunch program. and the pay-to-participate fees would be reduced by a quarter for students who are receiving reduced-price breakfast and lunches through the federal lunch program. Once again, it's really important that if your student is eligible and is receiving the free or reduced lunch programs, that you please file the waiver form with Mr. Bindis, our food services supervisor, so that we can apply those discounted pay-to-participate fees. What we did notice, Board of Education, is not all parents are submitting the waiver forms. And so without that information, we cannot apply the discount that you're providing here. So very important, parents, if you've not done that, if you could please make sure that you do so, so that is, you would receive a discount to your pay-to-participate fees. Here's just an example of how the reduced fees would apply. So say, for example, we have a student who qualifies for a free lunch or breakfast, and that particular student happens to be on our varsity baseball team. The fee for next school year is slated to be recommended at $145. If the student has a fee waiver on file with Mr. Bindis, the price would be reduced to $72.50. Student who happens to be on the reduced price breakfast and lunch, to say they're a cross-country student, fee there is $60. Their price would be reduced to $45. So it's a nice discount for parents who have challenges and who are qualified for our federal lunch program. Again, I can't express the importance of making sure the waiver forms are on file. So for the fall sports season and for the fall sports and activities, we're asking our parents to make sure that their current waiver form is on file, because that will be the waiver form that will help process the fees that are due in August, because students have through the first month of school to submit their free or reduced requests. And so we use the current school year's waiver forms to process the fall sports and activities. For winter sports and activities, by that point in time, the 2016-17 federal lunch program applications will have been processed, and so from that point forward, we'll be using the 16-17 lunch program applications for those determinations. We encourage our parents to pay fees by check, or even better yet, via Easy Pay. This will be the fourth year we've had Easy Pay as part of the process for paying our fees, and Easy Pay is available on the district website. There's a link right on the homepage. And any questions with regard to our pay-to-participate fees, we're asking you to contact Mr. Fantone, our athletic director, coordinator of K-12 student activities, and he would be happy to answer any questions you might have about that particular fee. So, Board, before I go on to rental fees, if there happens to be any questions about that, I'd be happy to entertain them at this point.
I would just note, as Mr. Slur pointed out, Finance Committee went sport by sport. We don't borrow from one sport to the next. Each sport is considered individually, and that's why the fees are different per sport.
Okay. So moving on to the next part here is a conversation about our rental fees. Board of Education, there is a rental fee schedule that the board last approved, believe it or not, in 2009. And I told the story to our Finance Committee meeting last week, I guess it was, that when we were pulling together the many pieces and parts of the operational change plan, at that point we talked a little bit about the rental fees and making some adjustments at that point. But it's a complicated conversation because we wanted to make sure that we're aligned with not only other school districts and with like-sized facilities, but also with the facility rental fees from the city of Twinsburg and also from the Twinsburg Public Library. And so at one point during that conversation a couple years back, we tried to coordinate things really specifically and almost consistently with our municipality and the library, and just weren't able to get the job done at that point. And so it was put on the back burner. We move forward, and so now is the time to take a look at the rental fees for 16 and 17. Board of Education, our rental fee schedule actually has two particular classes on it. Our first class, called Class A, would be the fees that are charged for our school community groups, like our PTAs or our nonprofit groups. Booster groups would be included in that. And the only fee that's really charged for those particular groups happens to be the labor cost should the activity occur during the time that our personnel happens not to be on site. So, for example, if we had some events, let's say this is makeup, but let's say our PTA had something going on a Sunday afternoon and we don't have staff working at Bissell on a Sunday afternoon, they would then be charged the labor cost because we would have to pay the custodian to come in and open the building and make sure it's warm and safe and all that. So Class A, student-affiliated support groups, board-recognized support groups would only be charged labor costs as applied per what's up there on the screen. Class B would be for profit groups. We have homeowners associations, we have dance studios, we have other organizations that use our facilities, and oftentimes they're charging an admission fee, they're charging whatever. For those organizations, they are going to be continue to be charged for labor for the personnel that has to be on site to assist them for their various events, the room rate per hour, and then the utility costs per hour. And in our board agenda this evening, I think it's J3, there happens to be the exhibit that has the specific charges that would be applied to Class B. Also new in the coming year, one of the things that we recognized is the fact that when we allow our groups outside the school district to utilize the auditoriums, we have state-of-the-art auditoriums, particularly the high school, and what we have noticed over time that often our sound equipment, lighting, etc., things are changed about, and really it's expensive equipment. And so what we're going to be charging beginning in the new school year would be a personnel cost to cover an auditorium manager or an auditorium student assistant, somebody who is trained to take care of the equipment. Mr. Welker and our music staff at the high school in particular recently just installed some new equipment. It's all going to be calibrated, or all has been calibrated, and so we want to make sure that equipment stays there and lasts a long time. And so we want the folks who are trained, who know and understand how to use this very sensitive equipment, they would be there present, and there would be a charge associated with having somebody assist groups who wanted to use our auditorium and use our equipment in those manners. Also new in the coming year, and this is aligned to other school districts who happen to be our neighbors, we're going to be charging a $25 permit fee to all Class B renters. So an organization who is using our facilities who happen not to be nonprofit, a for-profit, would also be charged the $25 permit fee in the new year. Board of Education, one of the things that I asked Mr. Welker to look into when he was employed here now, more than 2 years ago, was a need for us to push into the 21st century the manner in which we schedule our facilities. We've been still doing pencil and paper, and we know technology adds efficiencies to what we do. And so Mr. Welker has been very busy with the assistance of Mr. Aho's office and especially John Fran-Martino, our assistant treasurer, and we're going to be implementing something new called FMX, Facilities Management Express, which will be an online way to apply to use the facilities here in the school district. And we're going to be launching that in the new year in 2016-17, but particularly I've already told our PTAs that as they begin to think about when they want to use our buildings and what rooms, that we'll be having a little meeting here shortly with all of our booster groups to show them how to access FMX and walk them through the process. So that's coming very soon. But just a word to the community members that happen to use our facilities, all of the rental applications are now going to be online, and that will be accessed via the website very shortly, within the next month or so. Again, these fees would be effective, if approved tonight, effective for events beginning July 1st. The contact person for rental of our facilities is our assistant treasurer, John Fran-Martino. Up on the screen is John's email address and his phone number to his desk at the board office. And that concludes the brief presentation on rental fees. Are there any questions about rental fees in particular? We're ready for the next one. Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to ask Mrs. Farthing to please come up. She has some exciting news about a summer school option that we'd like to offer to students at the high school or soon-to-be high school students who would like to accelerate in the area of mathematics.
Good evening, Board of Education. This evening I'm here to talk to you about some options we would like to offer our accelerated students in mathematics. We typically talk about online options, and this year we would like to talk about a face-to-face option instead of doing online options. We feel the need, and the students have expressed interest in offering an honors geometry and then also an honors algebra 2 course during the summer. Obviously, you have to complete Algebra 1 to take the geometry class, and then in order to take the Algebra 2 class, the students would need to have completed Algebra 1 and geometry to accelerate to the next level. Our requirements are that we are asking that the students would have earned an A or a B in the math course that they just recently completed. I don't know how I missed this in the slide. It's in all of the other pages, but I missed the time frame. We would like to offer this June 6th through July 8th, and the students would be in session from 7:30 in the morning till 1:30 in the afternoon. With the tight time frame and the fact that we are going to be offering an entire school year in those 6 weeks, students will need to be in attendance daily. They may have one absence and one tardy, but that will be it. Monday, July 4th is Independence Day, so we will not have a course that day. And since this information is coming out now, families may have vacation plans, and we are asking that the students not register for the course if they're going on vacation. Because if you think about missing a week of this, that's close to 9 weeks of material, you know, not quite, but probably 6 to 7 weeks of material in that time frame. This is not, when we talked about this before, we've talked about the online option. We said how it's not for the faint-hearted, and this isn't either, because the students are going to be eating, living, and breathing mathematics during those weeks. So we would put that out there as students are thinking about this. I recall taking college classes in a 5-week session in the summer, and that was what I did. I got up and went to class, I came home and did homework, and then I went to bed and did it all. You know, that's kind of the pattern that the students will be having here. One item to note that is different than in the past is that the students will be required to take the end-of-course assessment for geometry. There is not an end-of-course assessment for Algebra 2 at this time, not planned either. But the students will need to take that. I don't believe that would be offered in the summer for them, so the students would need to take that in the fall window, which this year opened on December through January. So the students will need to take that for their graduation requirement when the test is available. Information will be available on the RBC and high school guidance websites starting probably tomorrow. The course will cost $325, and in order to make our accommodations for our staffing and all the materials and so forth, we're asking that the students register by May 20th. And then we are going to need 20 students enrolled in the geometry class and or the algebra for those courses to run. We will need 20 students to make that happen. The information will be due to Mrs. Veenheis at the high school, and she and I will be in constant communication to make sure that we're up to date on how many students we have registered and if the courses will be able to run or not. So that's very simple. The other 2 pages in the packet that you have, one is a reference sheet for the parents that really just breaks down all the items that we talked about here, and then the other one is the registration sheet. So those will be PDFs available on the website. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to offer this for our students. This is new for us, so we'll see what happens because it's different online and face-to-face because it's just different. It is. So we're looking forward to see if the students take advantage of this. We have heard of some students who are interested in taking College Credit Plus to help accelerate. So we're offering this as an option for those students that they can be here in-house with one of our teachers to get that same type of experience.
Thank you. I know that a lot of work goes into looking at online versus in person, and maybe, it's not the right word, but the culture of this district and what our students and parents want. So I know that's ever changing. I think having it in-house in their own environment gives a little bit of a plus. They're not traveling. They're not, beholden to staring at that screen the whole time.
Right, and with math, it's nice to have a person there to explain it to you and answer the questions. Any other questions?
They can take a field trip to the finance committee if they.
Well,
You mentioned the long hours, so it kind of goes hand in hand.
We had an ODE webinar, or in-person meeting today, and we talked about needing a statistics degree to understand the new calculations that are coming for the report card, so maybe we'll have the students help us with that.
Any of my colleagues, any questions?
I don't have any questions, just a comment. I mean, I like that you guys have done your due diligence and you've done the online piece before. It was actually a little surprising to me that there wasn't a lot of interest in the online, because that's very prevalent now. So doing the face-to-face, to me, is always great. And the fact that it's pretty rigorous and you're pretty upfront, with that reality. I hope that we do have enough students to take advantage of it, because I think that it will be very useful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else further? Okay. We're at remonstrance, but I don't believe we've had anybody indicating, so we will continue to move on with the business of the district. And we are now at Treasurer's Report and Recommendations. Without objection from my colleagues, I'll read H1, 2, and 3 together. H1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following meeting minutes, regular meeting of April 6, as sent to the board under separate cover. H2, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the following financial report for the month of February 2016. Bank reconciliation, general fund financial summary report, and the financial report by fund. H3, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accept the check register for the month of February 2016. The total payroll is $3,731,516.45. Is there a motion for those three as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Curtis. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Slura. Any questions or anything from our treasurer? Comments? This is all the regular stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing out of the usual here. If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. And those items pass 5-0. We're now on to action items personnel, and again, without objection from my colleagues, I'll read I-1 and 2 together. I-1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the certificated licensed personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit I-1 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. I-2, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the classified personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit I-2 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. Is there a motion for those two as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Slura. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. And those items pass 5-0. Next on the agenda is action items, and we are at section J. And again, without objection from my colleagues, I'll read 1 through 10 together. J1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt the summer reading requirements for the summer of 2016. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on April 11, 2016, per the attached exhibit J1. J2, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the student fee guidelines for the 2016-2017 school year per the attached exhibit J2. J3, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the rental fee schedule for the 2016-2017 school year effective July 1, 2016, as per the attached exhibit J3. J4, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts a donation from the Cleveland Clinic of Beechwood, Ohio, totaling $300. The donation will be used to purchase classroom supplies at Twinsburg High School, and that exhibit is J4. J5, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approve the adoption of College Writing 1 and 2 course of study at Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved at the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on April 11, 2016, and was sent to the board under separate cover. J6, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approved the letter of agreement and addendum for the Alliance for Healthy Youth to provide abstinence education for R.B. Chamberlain and Twinsburg High School for the 2016-2017 school year, as sent to the board under separate cover. J7, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase My World Social Studies, We Do Our Part textbook for the second grade social studies classes at Samuel Bissell Elementary School. The option, again, was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on their April 11, 2016 meeting, and this is a general fund expense. J8, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase Ni Hao series student workbooks for the Chinese courses at Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee at their April 11th meeting. This is a general fund expense. J9, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase My World Social Studies. We are a connected textbook for the third grade social studies classes at Samuel Bissell Elementary School. Adoption was approved again by District Curriculum and Technology Committee meeting at the April 11, 2016 meeting. This is a general fund expense. And finally, J10, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approve the agreement with Gym World of Twinsburg to utilize the gymnastics facility located at 9085 Dutton Drive in Twinsburg to conduct team training and inter-school competitions and meets for the Twinsburg High School gymnastics team for the 2016-2017 Ohio High School Athletic Association competition season, as sent to the board under separate cover. Is there a motion for those 10 items as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Slur. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curtis. Questions, discussions? Thank you again for the donations from the Cleveland Clinic. We've heard about the fees, so I think we've covered that.
Actually, Mr. Felber, I
Yes.
just want to highlight the donation from the Cleveland Clinic. Was interested to look into that. It's actually a grant that 3 of our teachers have received for some outside of the box learning and instruction that they're doing in the classroom, which just wanted to recognize, just another example of our faculty and staff and the teachers, how they go above and beyond to bring an education and keep the students involved. So really pleased that those 3 teachers received that grant to use in their classroom, and just kind of a thank you to them for all that they do.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, just for J2, I still, I thought I would have liked to have seen the athletic council meet prior to these fees being approved. I feel like we put the cart before the horse a little bit, so I would have liked to have seen some discussion on some of maybe potential opportunities to lower some of those fees through some different opportunities or different ways of doing things. I still have concerns, which I've expressed in the past, with academic and pay to participate fees. I feel like we're putting barriers up for some of our students. We're looking at, what is the total bottom line, $416,000.
That's a combination of both.
Right, of both, right. And so, just kind of putting some scenarios together for some of these families. Someone that would potentially have 3 children in sports and AP classes and maybe some extracurriculars. And I'm just going to throw an example. If we had a high school student with football, wrestling, baseball, an academic challenge, maybe a drama or speech, student council, accounting class, foods, AP Spanish and biology, with academic fees and athletics, that individual child's looking at $928 bill for the school year. You have a second child in high school, maybe doing a volleyball, gymnastics, softball, speech, student council, yearbook, pep club, their academic fee, art, chemistry goggles, Chinese, and accounting. You're looking at a $942 bill. Let's say you have a third student at RBC. You're looking at academic fees, Spanish, orchestra, basketball, baseball.
We can go through hypothetical.
I know. I'm saying I am going through
hypothetical.
but I'm saying for a family that has multiple children in classes and activities, and a lot of these aren't unusual combinations. You're looking at potentially a family having $2,500 and additional fees on top of just the day-to-day expenses. And I just feel like every dollar that we're spending needs to make a direct impact on the kids. And I understand that we have to be fiscally responsible, but I still want to express my concerns on the fact that we're charging, an academic fee and a Spanish fee and a student council fee. These are all things that add up for families, and I know that this is all thought through, and I get that, but I still think that we need to look at, can we at any point give some of these families some sort of relief? And unless you're on a free and reduced lunch, you're not going to get any relief. And some families are barely making it. So some of these children are having to make choices. If you've got multiple children, they are having to make choices whether they're taking some academic courses or some AP classes, or whether they're participating in an activity. And for me, in a public school district, I struggle with that, and I continue to struggle with that. And I think that, looking at $416,000, I mean, is there any way, Mr. Aho, that we could give any relief to, or to our finance committee that we could? I know you guys
let
have looked at
me
this.
address this, because this has been addressed many times, Ms. Torwaldron.
Yes.
This is a district. Our families have choices.
Right.
We've reported the numbers. Finance has looked at, and I take personal attention to the fact that, have we looked at it? Last finance committee was 6 hours, looking at every line item, looking at. Tonight, we are in this particular 10 items that are still open for discussion, is a reduction in a contract that purposely was able to be negotiated by Mr. Welker to reduce a fee that impacts one of the particular teams. With that, you talk about relief, but in 3 years up at this podium, I have not seen a solution being offered, other than every time this comes up, you say, what can be done? These are complicated topics. Dive into them, look at them, understand them. But just saying, what can we be done, what can be done, and reading off hypotheticals of students. We've got a report that, on the pay to participate, which is an option, the participation is up in terms of the sports. Not every sport, it goes up and down with sports. With sports up, we have not seen an appreciable decline. So we can't say that the fees are the decline. Yes, we live in a world of choices, but these are difficult choices. As I reported in my president's report, we lost $3.2 million, and this district had to make very difficult choices. We reduced staff, we cut where we could, and sometimes we're down to the bone. And we had a levy that this community supported, and at the same time, the other leg of that stool was the $416,000. And we can't just keep lamenting, why do we have it, why do we have it? Come up with a plan to give me $500,000 of recurring revenue, not one-time revenue, and we'll take that into consideration. But this finance committee and your superintendent and your business manager and your treasurer look at each one of these fees, and believe me, we're trying to reduce. The fees that our students pay on pay to participate is 25% of the actual cost. Many districts are paying 100%. We're doing what we can. We hear you. We know it's not easy, but there are choices. And last year we reduced fees where we could, even on both pay to participate and, of course, academic by federal statute. What else would you want us to do? Come up with a solution.
I'm not referring. I think as a board, maybe we can try to come up with some solutions. It shouldn't be all, the burden should not lie on my shoulders alone. I think conversation should be had. I mean,
the conversations are being had.
I understand that.
And this is, how many times can we...
This is a meeting where conversations can be had, and I'm asking for conversation. And I'd appreciate a little respect on it. When we're charging children to take a Spanish class that they're, if they want to go to college, they're required to take some of these courses, and some of these courses are costing their families money, and it's adding up. And these are not just, it's not little numbers when you add them all
they're not
together.
little numbers. When 88% of our budget is staff, we could cut busing, we can cut lighting, we can cut things, and it's not going to make a dent. These are real numbers. So
let me interject just for a minute, just to say, even as an incoming board member, pay-to-play fees and academic fees are an evolution that many districts in the area and around the state have come to realize. It's a different day and age. than when we were going to high school and we were going to school. Property taxes don't cut it. Revenue coming from the state doesn't cut it. When we have revenues that we previously enjoyed that are shrinking, we as a district and we as a board have a necessity to act. I personally have seen the consequences when school districts and boards have failed to act, and they have gotten rid of programs, they have gotten rid of transportation, they have gotten rid of extracurricular activities. I think that we've done a good job of trying to maintain and sustain the programs and activities and athletics that we have. This is a necessary evil. I want to be very clear. I don't enjoy fees. I don't think that anyone does. But I do feel strongly that the board has been very thoughtful in trying to come up with a viable solution and do some things to implement strategies to help defray the cost of certain specific populations throughout the district. I'm going to agree with my colleague that if there are viable options and solutions where we can look at revenues that are recurring, that we can expect and realize on a yearly basis, I'm more than happy to engage in that conversation. I'm going to assume that those efforts have been done, and if it existed, we would certainly be happy to look at those options. But to the extent of where we are right now and where we sit right now, it doesn't exist. So I think that it's something that me personally, I'll continue to examine and re-examine this issue and look for other alternative ways in which we can help defray the cost. But it's kind of one of those things where we're at this day and age, I don't know that this is something that's going to be totally wiped out. We don't live in the same time 10 years ago or even 20 years ago. Things have changed dramatically, and I think that as a district we've done a yeoman's job of maintaining all of the programs that we have available, because there are other options. We could get rid of a lot of things to help defray the cost, but I don't know that cutting off your nose to spite your face is the answer to solving the problem. So while I don't enjoy the fact that we have to do fees academically or with activities or with sports, it's something that's become a necessity. It is part of public education right now. It's become part of public education, and that's just the reality of the situation. So those are my comments. I do want to thank the efforts of the Finance Committee and everyone that's been involved in this process. It's pretty extensive, and it's not fun, but it's our responsibility as a board to make sure that we're doing things that are fiscally prudent, and we're looking for long-term sustainability with the district. And I'm in agreement with where we're going and why we're doing what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. And again, maybe a remind, the operational change plan was put in place to affect $3.2 million of a $9 million hit. We are now about to experience the $6 million hit. So if we felt pain before, it was a shared pain. These are troubling times. And I know we say it every time, and I know boards before us have said it. So it's not to just keep repeating a broken record. Things are going to get difficult, and we need to take these situations very seriously, and we need solutions. And we're trying very hard to balance the operation of the district, the facilities, and all the things that we expect and want for our children and our staff. And we need real solutions. We can't just say, let's look at the numbers. We're looking at the numbers. So we appreciate your interest. Is there any further comments? We still have
just one quick, just kind of to highlight, as Mr. Felber said, it was a 6-hour meeting, and lots of numbers were thrown out. we've actually reduced costs per student that we're spending. In 5 of 12 grades, we've cut significant dollars. You know, and you know that is a reflection of what we're trying to do with these, you know, these costs that we're voting to approve tonight are not paying for 100% of you know the cost for anything, and you know a look at other similar districts surrounding us, you know, operate in many different ways, and I think the way that when the operational change plan was enacted and the way that we've held it for the past 4 years is a fair and responsible way. We're 25% across the board. If you would want to compare numbers from previous years to this year, some sports have gone down, others have increased. You know, there's no bias to any of this. It's a strict number concept, and you know, I applaud, you know, the staff for, you know, being able to reduce some costs where possible, and understanding that, you know, as times change and costs increase, you know, that we're doing what we can to keep those down, and you know, we're holding true to the 25%. I think that's a fair way to do it. So
these are reduced. These are research-based costs, and I might also add, Mr. Aho, I know you probably don't have the figure off the top of your head, but I know in your 5-year forecast, and when people like to compare districts, what we spend, you know, per pupil is less.
Yeah, it's
and
not
when we
less.
compare, I mean, it's 10,000 somewhere.
like $10,000
Yeah, and
per-
you look around at neighbors, and people like to compare, and I don't think we're comparable to every district around us, but 11,000, 12,000, you know, we're holding the line as best we can. And teachers want things for their classroom, and they want technology. We understand that, and you know, pain is tough, and we're doing what we can on tough numbers.
And also, just that the participation has not waned, and I want to make sure that I dispel that myth that's out there. We've looked at the data longitudinally from previous years and participation in every sport, and it's been consistent. The numbers of kids have not dropped, and in some cases they've increased significantly. So the cost associated with these sports has not impacted the level of participation. And I want to make sure that the public understands that, because I think that that's something that's often talked about, but the data does not bear that out. And so if that were the case, I think that we would have to sit back and revisit and look at it to see that if, you know, if there are some adverse effects as a result of implementing the fees, you know, we would have to take a look at that. But, you know, looking back at, you know, and from previous years, the data doesn't bear out that premise.
Thank you. Mr. Walden.
All right, and like I said, and please, I don't want you to take that I'm criticizing the Finance Committee or anyone. That's not my intentions. I just feel like, you know, for some of the academic courses that our children have to take, it's hard, it's a tough pill to swallow, and I you know, that we're having to charge children fees for classes that they're required to take, and I'm not just referring to, you know, we keep going to the 25%. I
mean, if we look at
I'm
historical
trying to- yeah.
historical taxes, just
Right.
charge more
Can I finish
taxes,
my thought?
charge more taxes, and everything's covered. But that's not what this community has indicated they want.
Okay, and what I'm saying is I would like us to look at, like, is there any way, any avenues that we can get some of these academic fee course reduced or eliminated? And I think it's a reasonable thing to look at. I don't think it's, and I know you guys have, and I know you guys are in a tough position, and we all are, and it's just, like I said, I believe that, you know, if we're that tight that we can't, you know, that couple $100,000, even if we not even talking pay to participate, just the academic fees, you know, if that few $100,000, if we're in that tight of a situation, then we need to be paying attention across the board.
And we are.
Yes,
And there's more to come.
Right, and I get it. We have some tough times coming, but
Okay,
I
so
think that the students, the dollars have to impact them first and foremost.
Any
And
further
that's
discussion?
That's my opinion.
Roll call.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber? Yes, and that passes 5-0. Now we'll continue with 11 through 19, and again, without objection, I'll read those together. J11, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase Discovering Our History of the World. And this was the adoption approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on their April 11th meeting. This is a permanent improvement expenditure. J12, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase Discovering Our Past History of the United States Early Years for the 8th grade social studies classes at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. The adoption was approved by District Curriculum and Technology Committee at their April 11, 2016 meeting. This is a permanent improvement expense. J13, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase the St. Martin's Handbook 8th edition for the college writing 1 and 2 dual credit courses at Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on April 11, 2016. This is a permanent improvement expenditure. J14, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase JAVA programming, Java, I should say, AP edition for the AP Computer Science courses at Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved by the Twinsburg Curriculum and Technology Committee on April 11, 2016. This is a permanent improvement expense. 15, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase United States Government Our Democracy textbook for the government courses at Twinsburg High School. Again, approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee at their April 11th meeting. This is a permanent improvement expense. J16, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase United States History, Reconstruction to the Present for the U.S. History courses at Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee at their April 11, 2016 meeting. This is a permanent improvement in expenditure. Financial Algebra course textbook adoption purchase, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase Contemporary Business Mathematics for College's 17th edition textbook for the Financial Algebra courses at Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on the April 11, 2016 meeting. This is a permanent improvement expenditure. 18, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase Nihao series textbooks for the Chinese courses at Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved by District Curriculum and Technology Committee at April 11, 2016 meeting. This is a permanent improvement expenditure. And finally, J19, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase College Physics, a Strategic Approach, 3rd edition, AP edition textbook for the AP Physics courses at Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on April 11, 2016. This is a permanent improvement expenditure. Is there a motion for those items as read?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, I think I heard Mr. Slura first. Any discussions or anything further, Tina, or anybody else on curriculum and technology?
No, not this time.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes, and those items pass 5-0. We're on to miscellaneous. Any additional comments from my colleagues or administration?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on I had the opportunity to attend the Honor Corps induction ceremony at R.B. Chamberlain last night. I wasn't able to stay for the entire thing. It was very long. But wow, the stage was completely full of, I don't know, had to be like over 80 kids up there. I could be wrong, but
131.
Okay, I was short. But the auditorium was full, parents, and some great remarks, and just what a phenomenal achievement over the 2 years that the kids are there, to be able to sustain such high level of academic achievement, and the thought that those kids are going to be coming over to the high school. Wow, what bright minds! And some of the comments that were made. So every student that came up to receive their acknowledgement, the staff read a quote from the essay that they wrote, and these quotes were very profound. different authors, and some of which weren't necessarily, taken from an author or a famous person, but their own words, and extremely articulate, very thought-provoking, and more importantly, spoken in such a way that it really gets you thinking about the future and how they see the future, how they feel, how people should be and behave as human beings. And it was very refreshing to hear these things, especially in light of what we see on a daily basis on the news, and if you look at the political discourse that we're experiencing right now, and that they are. They're old enough to understand and know what's going on, and to know that they're able to rise above that and still be so optimistic about the future and about how other people should be treated. It was very nice to see and very nice to witness. So I was glad that I had the opportunity, for one, to be invited and to attend and kind of see that. I'm looking forward to, hopefully, that my son will be able to realize that experience as well. So I wanted to make sure I make comment on that.
Yeah, it was a great program. I think I passed you in the parking lot on the way out. I was I was tied up at another meeting before, but yeah, there was at 131 kids on the stage, and then to watch them all proceed out, in front of everybody as they were dismissed first. It was almost like their graduation. Just the look on their faces as they were walking by, they were very, very proud, and the parents were proud too. So, congratulations to them.
All right, if there's no further comments, we do have need for executive session, so I will make the motion that the board enters into executive session at 8:40 p.m. to consider the employment and or compensation of employees as per Board of Education Policy 0166A, and to prepare for bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation and or terms of employment as per Board of Education Policy 0166E. I've made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curtis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl-Waldron?
Yes.
And the board is now in executive session. We do not expect any other business when we reconvene. Thank you and have a good evening.